Actually, we're at page Mem Gimel, I believe, at the very bottom. So, in Orchot Tzaddikim, you're probably familiar, Moshe, that he's dealing with different types of midos, and we've gone through several of them. And the one we're up to now is ahava, and he's talking about different forms of, or different ways in which the different things we love can be a distraction from the service of Hashem. And he's talking about the love of one's children, the love of one's family members, the love of money, the love of the opposite gender, whether it be men for women or women for men for that matter, the love of honor. And these types of things can really mislead a person and distract him, deflect his interest in God away from God and towards these other things. And he's now in the process of explaining to us how a person can direct these kind of inclinations we have for good. So he's actually discussed how, for example, the love of one's children would more properly be expressed not by doting them and pampering them and looking, taking after all of their various like material needs, but to be concerned about the fact that you teach them Torah and that they be raised in a way of Torah and mitzvos and that they continue that path. And the love of money, that one should recognize the value of money on the one hand, but use it for for things which are going to promote Torah and mitzvos, and not things that would detract from that. And then the same thing for the love of women, he discusses more specifically, and that should be directed towards looking for a woman who will be one's soulmate in marriage for life, and a woman who is going to be interested in a life of Torah and mitzvahs, and therefore, and also be a woman who's interested in having children in order to perpetuate the Jewish people. So that this would be very important. And then we're up to the fourth one here, which is avas avi v'imo. Because he said, for example, the love of one's parents could cause one to respect the desires of one's parents, even if those desires are antithetical to Torah. Or a person might be swayed by the opinions of his parents to do things which either are not for, or even worse, are against Torah. So what should a person's proper love for the parents be? Va'avas avi v'imo tihiyeh al derech zeh, the very bottom of Men Gimel, sheyachshov shegidluhu v'torchu bo lelamdo darkei Hashem yisbarach. To think about and be appreciative to the extent to which they raised him with an interest in learning Torah and finding the ways of God. V'horuhu v'hinhuhu l'Torah, and they instructed him and educated him to Torah u'lemitzvos, Mem Dalet at the top. U'behen yekayim mitzvos abor yisbarach, through which he will maintain the commandments of God. K'dichsiv, as it says, kabed es avicha ve'es imecha, honor your father and your mother. Ve'echav v'ach yosav ushar karovav, the same thing with his brothers, his sisters, and others of his relatives. Yev aderazeh, he should love them for this purpose, in this way. Shem oiskim bo lahavio lamalos shehem la'avodas abor yisbarach, and they work, these people, to the extent to which they work or contributed to his attaining the elevated stature of serving God. V'yasok behem lelamdam ulo yichicham v'lo yisa alehem panim, and he should learn these aspects of Torah in order to rebuke them and not show favor through them. Ubezeh yeshlos charav, in this way he'll have great merit. V'mida gedola, this is a great attribute. It says, v'cherpa lo yinoso al karoivav, embarrassment he will not carry over his family members. Meaning, either one's family members will encourage one in the way of Torah of mitzvahs, in this way his path will not embarrass them, nor will he be brought to embarrassment through the instruction of his family members because they've instructed him in the right path. Alternatively, if he's learned things, then he should not be embarrassed to point that out to his loved ones, so forth and so on. And it could be that one's parents or family members in general encourage one to go on the path of Torah mitzvahs, but maybe not to the same extent that he has taken. So in general, they might believe in God, they might teach him to believe in God, they might believe in Torah and mitzvahs, and they might encourage him to do that, but he might take that one step further, and his learning of the Torah might result in his being, or seeming to be, more stringent than they are. So in that case, he should say, Mother and Father, thank you very much for instilling in me the desire to learn Torah and the respect for learning Torah and those who learn Torah. I've taken very much of what you've given me and tried to learn myself. And it seems to me that one is in fact required to wash one's hands before making hamotzi, and not just to make the blessing hamotzi itself. There's a washing of the hands to be made. And the father says, oh, that's just a bunch of, ritualism based on sanitary concerns. But my hands are clean. I've washed them with soap. There's no need to go ahead and wash your hands beforehand. And the son says, well, we're certainly interested in fulfilling the commandments, whether they're, deraisa or d'Rabbanan, and there is a rabbinic requirement to wash one's hands. So, I'd be, perhaps, Dad, you'd like to ask, our rabbi, what he says, and so forth and so on, or if you'd like, we can learn it together and, see what you think. But please don't ridicule me or discourage me for doing what I've learned one's supposed to be doing, which is to wash the hands before the meals, something like that. And even if a person's parents did not teach him to believe in God or didn't even teach him explicitly the ways of the Torah, but he knows that his parents raised him to be an ethical person, to be a person who should be seeking truth, not deluding himself or others. So to the extent to which his family raised him with these proper ethical values, that also enabled him to appreciate the value of Torah. So that even if a person's parents are not religious and didn't raise him to be religious, he can still love his parents for giving him the foundation, for what for him became a foundation for his interest in Torah, because his parents did give him a strong sense of right and wrong. His parents did give him a very strong sense of truth and being honest. Yeah? And so therefore, even if it wasn't specifically addressed towards God in the Torah, but it helped him appreciate the Torah, so they have a great part in that as well, and he should be appreciative of that. How did you become so religious, and where did that come from? I wasn't that way, and your father wasn't that way, and our parents, your grandparents were not that way. Where did that come from? Mom, I understand what you're saying, but without perhaps you realizing it, you and Dad raised me in such a nice way, in a way which caused me to have such a strong emphasis on ethics and behavior and on truth, that whether you like it or not, I'm very appreciative of the fact that you're raising me with the values that you did, enabled me to appreciate this more than perhaps other people. So thank you very much. That might be the last thing she wants to hear, but in a polite way, you can actually blame her for your becoming religious that way. Blame, I say, quote unquote. But the point is, it would be an opportunity to compliment your parents, thanking them for the very honorable upbringing that they gave you. V'harbe to'eles yesh lo la'adam bikrovav kederach shematzinu belot. And there are many advantages that a person has regarding one's relatives, as we found, for example, by Lot. Why? Shehitzilo Avram v'nilcham avuro. He was spared by Avram, and Avram even fought a war in order to regain him. He had been taken captive. And this was all because of the fact that they were blood relatives. They were relatives. Even though Lot was not the most, let's say, refined of individuals. And he actually parted ways with Avram because he wasn't particularly interested in Avram's way of life and Avram's teachings. Still, when it came to sparing his life, Avram did everything he could in order to save Lot, which he actually did. And in the same way, unfortunately, these three young men, our Jewish brethren, have been taken captive. And we have to do everything that we can, spiritually and physically, in order to affect their return. The merit of Avraham. May all those involved, everyone according to the way they're able to, be successful in returning those young boys home. V'gam b'Sodom nitzal b'schus Avram. And also in Sodom, Lot himself was spared because of Avram. So therefore, this family connection, and that's certainly true when you're talking about a blood connection, but even when you're talking about being in the same family, the family of Israel, that's a very important connection. V'ye'av re'av ushar kol b'nei Yisrael ava shalema. A person should love his friends and the rest of the children of Israel with a complete love. L'kayim ha'shenemar, as it says, v'ahavta l're'acha kamocha. Love your neighbor, love your friend as yourself. Even if there are those among Israel who do things which are hateful to us, we should not hate them, but we should hate their deeds. I despise not them, but their deeds. I love that person. I despise what that person's doing. He or she might be well-intentioned, and I can understand why they think they're doing the right thing, even though it's against God, it's against the Torah, and against the mitzvahs. So what they're doing might come from what they think to be a good place. But it's totally objectionable, unacceptable, reprehensible. But that doesn't mean that I have to hate that person. There's a good spark in that person, and the confusion was causing him or her to act or say or do things which are unacceptable, which are antithetical to the Torah. Furthermore, it says, greater than that, it says, Ki b'tzelem Elokim asa es Adam, that every human being was made in the image of God. Yeah. So certainly when it comes to your fellow Jew, there's a requirement to love every fellow Jew as yourself. And since every human being was also created to a certain extent, but in the image of God, so a person has to try as much as possible to do the same thing for everyone. There's a great advantage for people who act in this kind and friendly way to people. One advantage is in this world. When he acts lovingly with every person, pragmatically, right, people will love him and help him as well. If he falls, there will be many who will come to his aid and to support him. And if people come against him to fight him, many will gather to his defense to push off the offender. And if some difficulty arises, everyone else is unhappy for him and will extend him a helping hand. And if he becomes poor or has difficult financial times, many will help him by giving him gifts in order to get him out of his difficult times. So, if a person loves other people, and therefore he's friendly, gives to and helps other people, so it has one advantage, which is pragmatic, is that when he's in times of need, those who he helps will help him. But there's another advantage, which is spiritual. In the world to come. Since he is beloved to all, his words are heard. He'll therefore have the ability to rebuke other people in order for them to improve their ways. So that's more of a spiritual nature. And through his love for other people, he'll also have peace with other people. And through this kind of amiable interaction he has with other people, he'll be calm and he'll be relaxed. He'll be free to learn Torah and to do good deeds. But if he's irate and irascible and constantly having objectionable interactions with other people, fights and arguments, so he'll never have the peace of mind to sit down and learn, because he's always going to be boiling, over at the things that people say or did to object to him, and so forth and so on. And also, people will help him, and they'll do for him the things that he needs to do, and they will protect him. This seems to go back to the material benefit, the physical benefit of being kind and loving to other people. But the connection is as follows: and through other people's aiding him, giving him a helping hand, he'll also be freed to be able to do the spiritual pursuits. of Torah study and mitzvos and the like. And through this loving type of interaction he has with other people, he'll find favor in other people's eyes. His good deeds will be received by all. And then people will desire to be like him. Meaning, if he's a good person, he does good deeds, then this will find favor in other people's eyes, and they will receive the example of what he's doing favorably so that they'll be encouraged to emulate his good deeds. Unlike a person who might be nasty and mean, even if he does good deeds, other people might not be drawn to emulate his deeds because they say, oh, he's just doing that because he wants to gain recognition or he wants to fool people. In other words, they won't be encouraged because of even his good deeds to do anything good because he's basically a nasty person. So they'll be turned off by even the good things that he does. And so these are all 3 or 4 advantages, spiritual advantages, to being loving, friendly, and open to other people. Page Mem He at the top. What's the path through which a person can attain this love for other people? Askilcha v'orcha, I will enlighten you and illuminate the path for you. Haderech, the way is as follows: Shiyazor benafshoy uvavonoi kefi yochoto, that he should help with his self and with his money according to his ability. Hiyazer benafshohu, to help with one's soul, is as follows: She yishares the kol adam, that he should serve every person. Hen oni, hen oshir, whether it's a poor person or a wealthy person. V'yitrach avuram, and to expend effort on account of them. Because a person might say, well, it would behoove me to help a wealthy, influential person. I'll be able to get some benefit from that. But the poor person, who cares? Right? That's not true. A person should make every effort to help a poor person. Another person would say, well, it's a mitzvah to help a poor person. At the end of the day, he's needy. But to help this wealthy person, he's got enough money. Let him hire somebody to help. I should take my time. No. Help the wealthy person, right? Don't say because he's wealthy, he can afford to have other people, he can pay to have people help him. If you have an opportunity to help him as you would help any other Jew. So it turns out that regardless of whether the person is wealthy or poor, wise or not, you might find any number of reasons why you should help this person or that person, and not the other person, or that person, not the other person. But in truth, you can find ways to help every person in every way. And therefore, you shouldn't refrain from doing so. And when you help other people, that actually stirs up a love for other people. And it's an interesting idea. You know, the word for love, as we see here in the text, in Hebrew is ahava. And ahava is based on the root, which is hav. Hav means give. So that you actually develop a love by giving, not by taking. And when we say, V'afta l'recha kamocha, love your friend as you love yourself, well, when you love, as a result of loving yourself, you're interested in fulfilling your needs. So if you want to come to love another person, you should do so through trying to fulfill that other person's needs. And through mutual giving, that's how true love is acquired. And therefore, it seems to be that's what he's saying here. The main way to achieve a type of love for other people is to give of yourself to other people. Number one, you love yourself. So if you give of yourself to others, to the extent to which there is yourself, you've invested yourself in others, you will love that other person just by virtue of the fact that yourself is invested there. And the other thing is, right, the actual act of giving brings about that love. And therefore, giving to other people is certainly a way to develop this relationship. V'yitrach avuram ha'ezeh b'manohu, and helping through money is sheyalveh le'oshir ve'es yitztarchu lemos, to loan money even to a wealthy person at a time that he needs money, because sometimes wealthy people don't have money. It's not liquid. And they can't liquidate their money for all types of tax purposes and everything else. So they're effectively poor at that time. Poor, yeah. Cash poor. So that would be an opportunity to help even a wealthy person, with money. And even to the poor person, you have to loan when he's down. Or alternatively, or in addition, you can actually give him a gift according to your ability, a monetary gift, or some other gift for that matter. V'liktsas itim yishlach monos v'doronos gam nashirim. And sometimes a person can even do a nice act of giving even to wealthy people by giving them gifts and things like that from time to time. Why? Because again, it catalyzes the love and the goodwill between people. So much so that the Chazal, the sages say in the Talmud, that a person who gives a gift should let his friend know. Why? Because it catalyzes that good feeling between people. And therefore, there's certainly advantage to giving anonymously. But against the advantage of giving anonymously, it also has to be taken into consideration what advantage might be given, right? What advantage might be received by giving not anonymously.
Are we talking about tzedakah or just a regular present?
Both, but primarily I think the present. Now, a person could give a person, let's say, a present in the form of tzedakah and want to be anonymous about it, so the person's not embarrassed about receiving it. On the other hand, there might be scenarios where giving anonymously would not be as good as actually letting the person know that you gave it to him. For example, again, there might have been some friction between the two of you. So there'd be an advantage of letting him know that you gave him the gift in order to foster goodwill. Or you might be in some type of a position where receiving something from you would be an honor to this person. Yeah? So that you make it known to the person, so that increases their feeling good about receiving it. Not only are they receiving a gift, but they're receiving it from you, and vis-a-vis that person, that in some way makes them feel even better. Or it might be a wealthy person who doesn't need your wealth, they don't need your gifts, but it's, as again, an expression of goodwill. It might be justified to let the person know. Not so much because you're looking to get retribution, not retribution, that's not the right word. Is that right, the word? Retribution?
Recompense.
Thank you. Yes, compensation, recompensation. Not really to get recompensation, but that you want to honor that person.
Yeah, do a good gesture.
Yeah, do a good gesture. In which case it might be something which is relatively cheap, inexpensive, just some trinket, a sign, a token of appreciation. This person had plenty of money, they can afford to buy anything they want. In fact, they probably have everything they want. Here you're giving the gift just as a token of your appreciation or of your respect or something like that. So it might even not even be a valuable gift.
If you give something with a good heart, it's all good.
Yeah, if you give something with a good heart. V'yevatran b'shalo, and a person should also be willing to kind of give up, sacrifice, forgo things that belong to him. For example, im yelo esek im bnei adam, if he has some interaction, maybe a business dealings with people, he called maso matan shelo b'nei monos. All of his business dealings should be on faith, in truth, and honest. Val yakpid b'davar muat al havero, and he shouldn't be makpid on, meaning he shouldn't be particular about small amounts having to his friend. They go out, they're going to have some coffee and cake, and the bill turns out to be whatever, 56 shekels. And they agreed to, to split it in half. So the other, puts out a 25, meaning the other guy's got to put out 31. So for 6 shekels, he put out the 25, whatever. I'm not going to make a big deal about it. Maybe he doesn't have it. I don't want to put him on the spot. Maybe he needs the small change he has in order to take the train back home or something. So he said half, but 50. That's half of 56.
28.
Yeah. So he forgoes the 3 shekels, whatever, right? Puts out the 31 instead, or whatever, if I'm doing the math correctly. Or, that type of a thing. He's a store owner. And it costs, $26.70, and the guy gives him, 26. I'm sorry, I don't have the 20. I don't have 70. Is that okay? 70 agarot. It's plain geld. No big deal. This type of a thing. Kleine geld. Yeah. In fact, he should always be looking out for ways in which people can actually derive benefit from him. We usually look at the opposite. Yeah? What we can get out of others. And we work very hard in making sure that people don't take advantage of us. No, he's almost saying you should put yourself in a situation where you're constantly benefiting others. It's always better to be on the giving end than on the receiving end, right? You should always be in a position to give.
Yeah, it's more pleasure to give than to receive.
Sure. So you should always be looking to actually benefit other people. But and we should not be looking to see what we can get out of others. And you should speak calmly with all people. If people embarrassed him, don't be embarrassed. If they misled him, don't mislead him back. Yeah, people embarrass you, so the response should not be, well, he embarrassed me, so I'll embarrass him. He misled me, I'll show him. I'll mislead him. No. Yizbol al tzvaro ol ha'olam. He should be prepared to accept upon his shoulders, his neck, the yoke of the world. Vu al yachbid alehem. But he should not be an encumbrance upon them. Meaning you should be willing to accept upon yourself the types of impositions that people place on other people, but not be but avoid imposing yourself on others. If you need help, so of course you're allowed to ask somebody for help. But the point is, you should really be quick to take upon other people's burdens and very slow to place yours on others. Don't fight with other people. And to accept other people with a pleasant countenance. Because right, having a positive countenance, that also will increase the love that you have with other people. But if you're looking sternly or mean at other people, even if you don't feel angry, but you just have this kind of way about you, so it's a bit bitter. But if you're kind and you show a nice countenance, you don't want to fake it. You don't want to fake it. You want to get a point where you generally like other people. You generally feel good about being good to other people, so that when you look at other people and you're out to other people, you're like lively and friendly and warm, not because you're faking it because that's how you should be, because that's how you really feel about other people. And you should also have your business engagements and dealing with other people where you have your friends' good in mind. That's also an interesting point, because you're in business. Each side is, generally trying to make the most profit and minimize as much as possible their loss. So each side is trying to actually get the most out of the other and avoid having anything, relinquishing any themselves. This is saying that's not the case. There should be each side is encouraged to have much more of a give and take attitude. Like, I'm interested in my profit, but I'm also aware of your need to have a profit as well. So each side should be approaching this as like half-half, which is really not like kind of the dog-eat-dog work ethic that many of us have, or that we have, most of have where we come from. It should really be much more like, we're both here because we need to make a profit. But I don't expect that my profit should be at your expense, and I don't want your profit to be at mine. So let's kind of recognize our mutual need to benefit and profit from each other, and forego the majority of what I could perhaps finagle out of you, and let us each agree on going as much as possible half-half. Right? That's a fair attitude, right? If everybody's going half-half, then everybody ultimately is going to get, a fair reward, and there will be honesty and trust in the business world in such a society. But if you're kind of in a business milieu where the attitude is getting as much as you possibly can out of others, with nearly all methods at your disposal, then everybody's always going to be looking out only for themselves and absolutely distrusting everybody else and making them meshugana to try and figure out exactly what he's doing to rip me off and what I can do instead to rip him off. What kind of a business world is that? What kind of a business ethic is that? And what type of a societal fabric, right, will result from that type of a thing? But if it's much more fraternal, right, so then that makes much more of a pleasant and honest work environment. Because at the end of the day, it's just as important for me to have the money that I need to raise my children in a Jewish way, as it's important for me to know that you have the money to raise your children in a Jewish way, right? It's just important to me that you're able to pay for a good Jewish education as it is for me to pay for my children's Jewish education, because we're all one family, we're all in this together, and the Jewish people's, right, the quality of Jewish people depends not only on my children getting a Jewish education, but everybody's able to do so. So why should I rip you off so that I can educate my kids, and then your kids are not going to be left with a Jewish education? So what good is that going to do for all of us in the long run? For example, V'yinochem kol adam mi'atzbo umidagaso. You should also be prepared to console every person about the things that are disturbing them or worrying them. In Gilalo Odam Sod, if a person revealed to you a secret, don't reveal it. Afim Yachiseo, even if that person ends up harming you, angering you. Oh, I've got something on him. He told me something last week, as if I'm his close friend. He confided in me. If that's how he treats his friends, I'll show him what being a good friend is. Yeah. Can't do that. Don't speak evilly about a person. Nor should he hear other people speaking evilly about someone. Not only is he not allowed to speak it, he's not allowed to hear it. He should be looking to find some schus, some way of judging favorably other people. Uveyoser yizar bezeh, and he should really work hard on this. Vaziyeh ov v'kol, then he'll really be beloved to all. V'yichabed kol odam b'masav ubedvarav, and he should honor other people with his deeds and with his words. V'lo yizgoy al shumadam, he should not be arrogant or haughty over anyone else. Ach yikona tachas kol odam, he should kind of be willing to subjugate himself before other people. Ubechol yichaven l'shem shamayim, and it should all be done in the name of heaven. So that a person might think, well, I want honor and respect from other people, so I'm going to go praising and recognizing the value of other people. They'll think I'm lower than them. No, that's not right. You shouldn't do that. You should make a point of being aware of other and expressing other people's strengths and praising them for that. And most normal people will not say, wow, this guy's a real loser. I have the upper card on him because listen to how much praise, how much praise he recognizes in me. Most people won't say that. Most people, wow, that's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. When he has an opportunity, he'll praise you over your good things as well. Why? Because you're not confrontational. You're not trying to supersede him all the time. On the contrary, you're non-threatening to such a person. You recognize his strengths, and you're not lying. These, in fact, are his strengths. And so, so most people would be more than happy to recognize your strengths as well. Of course, there are going to be those individuals who will think that since you're praising them or recognizing their strengths, that they've got you now underneath their thumb, and they can take advantage of you. You don't want that to happen. It's true. And if you see that through acting nicely and benevolently, you're actually causing, the result is that this person is going to act in a haughty, arrogant, manipulative type of way, then you should stop. Number one, because you're causing them to act in a bad way. And number two, you don't have to make yourself a floor mat. Right? But what we're talking about is like normal interpersonal skills where you're being non-threatening, non-judgmental, trying to be yourself, what's the word I'm looking for? Non-exploitative, and therefore people will act that way with you as well, so that everybody will benefit from that type of a behavior. And when you honor and respect other people, generally speaking, they'll honor and respect you as well. And the same thing here as well. When you kind of present yourself as being flexible with other people, generally speaking, they'll be flexible with you. Again, there will be those individuals who will, it becomes clear to you, take advantage of your flexibility and constantly try and exploit you and manipulate you. So then you have to protect yourself. But in general, if you're flexible with people, so they'll be flexible with you. But if you assert yourself like an unflinching rod, well, the result of many people is going to say to respond in kind. And therefore, it would be much better to be flexible with others, have other people be flexible with you, considerate of others, hopefully they'll be considerate of you. But even in the end of the day, if you're more flexible and considerate with others, it's better to be that way than the other way. Within reason and measure, as long as you're not exposing yourself to harm, danger. You have to be very careful to protect yourself against the society of people who are not good people, in order not to learn from, be influenced by their bad ways, and to distance oneself from the sitting place of the scoffers. Because it's very easy to be drawn into the laughing and the ridiculing and the mockery that idle people sit around and chat about. It's a lot of fun. Sit down and have a beer. Before you know it, you start making fun of other people, pointing out their faults, and you can be drawn into that. Very careful not to do that. The wise man said to his son, when it occurs to you to associate yourself with other people, be very careful to associate yourself with a wise man. It says, one who goes with the wise will become wise. And the converse is also true. One who goes with fools will himself become a fool, will act foolish. V'ne'emar, ten l'chocham v'yechkam od. Give to a wise person wisdom, and what will the result of that? He'll become even wiser. So if you're wise, be with wise people, and you'll get even wiser. She'im techkam yifaercha v'lo yachlok al chokmascha. People will extol you, and they will not argue on your wisdom because they see what you're saying is correct. V'az teda shetuchal lismoch al chokmasecha. Then you'll know that you can actually rely on your wisdom, because people will hear it and accept it and objectively affirm, right, that what you're saying, the things that you are suggesting are wise. Im yichabduhu, yichabedcha. Yihadruhu, yihadercha. Maybe this is referring to finding a wise friend. If they honor the friend, they'll honor you. And if they show respect to the friend, they'll show respect to you as well, by virtue of the fact that you're connected to this person. Im titztarech le'ezraso, if you need his help, yazreka, he will help you. Uma shetomar yatzdikecha, and that which you say, he will sanction. Why will he sanction it? Only if what you're saying is wise will he sanction it. Im tichas, if you become angry, yisbolcha, he'll suffer your anger. Why? Because he's a wise person, so he doesn't get angry. He'll be patient and work through with you whatever hard times you're going through. V'silmad mima'asov hatoivim, and you can learn from his good ways. ובשחבר עם כל אדם שתלמד ממנו דברים אשר יביאוך לעבוד הסבור יסברך. You should be careful to connect to people who are going to direct you in the ways of connecting to God. ואמרו חכמים, and the sages said, כשתרצה לחבר עם איזה אדם, when it's your intention to connect to somebody, הכיסהו, test him first by making him angry. אם יודע לך אמס בשעס כעסו, ישחבר לו. If he'll agree to what you're saying when he's angry, then connect to him. Why? Because despite his anger, you see he's a person of truth. It's interesting. I don't know whether the sages actually intend you to test a person by pushing his buttons in order to see how he reacts, in order to see whether he's the type of friend you want or not. But at least, if there is a scenario where you see a person who you're interested in befriending, and you see how they react in angry situations, and you see that they act in the right way, then that's a sign that this is the type of person that you want. If they can maintain their cool when they're angry, that's the type of person that you want to connect with. V'im lav, ozev. But if not, leave him. Ela tivchar lechover mi sheyakir erech atzmo. Choose a person who has self-respect. U'mi she'enu makir as atzmo, ein tov b'chavroso. A person who doesn't know and respect himself, nothing good is going to come out of that. Kanei lecha chover hamochiach oscha b'ososcha shelo kehogen. Acquire for yourself a friend who is going to care about you enough that they'll point out your faults to you when you're acting incorrectly. Hamilamedcha lasos atov, and teaches you to do good. V'oizeroscha benafshoy uvemono, and he'll help you with his body and with his money. V'zeru chavercha haneman. This is a faithful friend. Aval chaver hamachnif ve'amiyashir lecha te'usecha u'shegarascha. But a friend who's just going to flatter you and sweeten over any of the wrong things and the mistakes that you make, and he kind of consoles you over the bad things that you've done. Oh, it's not so bad. You didn't mean it. Everybody does it. That stuff's no good. Histalik, my love. Get rid of such a friend. A friend who's going to take from you what you need, what he needs, and he's going to cause you a great loss just for a little bit of advantage of his. So such a person you also don't want. Nor should you connect yourself with people who condone evil. Shneimar, as it says, Lo tomrun kesher l'chol asher yomar ha'am hazeh kosher. Don't say connect yourself with all the things that this people say connect yourself with. Why? Meaning they agree, they condone evil. So you see, even though earlier he was saying you should be kind and friendly and seek be amiable and seek the friendship of everybody, it's not all-inclusive. And here he's qualifying the types of things that I myself qualified. Also, this chaber im rosha beiske olam, you should not connect yourself with a wicked person, not in spiritual matters and not in physical mundane matters either. Shenemar behischabercha im Achaziyahu, Paretz Hashem es ma'asecha. God was speaking to one of the kings, and he says, "In your connecting with Achaziyahu, who is wicked, Paretz Hashem es ma'asecha. God has broken your deeds because you got a bad friend, and therefore the programs that you have made jointly with wicked people are invalid in God's eyes." Va'afilu le'devar mitzvah also dischaber le'rosha. And even for a mitzvah matter, you should not connect to a rosha. Shenemar, as it says, Al tikone beish chamos, v'al tivchar b'chol drochov. Don't tikone. I guess it means don't be jealous of, don't look to admire a person who does wickedness. That's an ish chamas. V'al tivchar b'chol drochov, and don't choose any of his ways. From here, the author learns you shouldn't connect with wicked people even to do a mitzvah. V'amru chachamim ba'avos d'Rabbi, and the sages said in a particular work, Al tiyeh chaver l'rasha afilu dvar mitzvah. Don't connect yourself as a friend with a rasha, even for a mitzvah. V'rabu darchei amavis hanimtzoim b'chevras harashoim. There are many ways of death which are existent in a friendship with the wicked. So one should not think that one should join a wicked person for the purpose of doing a mitzvah. Very often the wicked person has other designs in joining with you for this mitzvah and might very well have in mind doing evil or causing you harm. And therefore one should be very wary about thinking that he's going to do some joint venture with a wicked person, even if that joint venture is ostensibly for some mitzvah, because it can ultimately cause more harm than benefit. So you have to be very careful. Okay. Suppose we should stop here. in order to make room for time for the next class.